downtown Baton Rouge again to another business and executive meeting. I'd like to start by honoring our Creator with a prayer from Mr. Scametta.
Please join me in the way our Lord taught us to pray. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil. Thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory. Amen.
Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance, a salute. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You lost your coach, huh?
Okay, Miss Catherine, got some announcements?
Yes, sir. We have, well, I guess first announcement would be a reminder that the April B&E will be held in Manny, at Toledo Bend at the Cypress Cove Resort on April the 16th.
Yeah, we got a house rule on that meeting, no coat and tie. You're not gonna get in if you got a coat and tie on, okay? All right. It's flip-flops and T-shirts and shorts, okay? All right.
Yes, sir. And then for actual agenda items, we have several that are deferred this month and one that is pulled. So exhibits 3, 6, 11, 23, and 24 are deferred. Again, 3, 6, 11, 23, and 24. And then exhibit 20 is being pulled. And that's all the announcements that I have.
Commissioner Scametta, you have any announcements?
We are going to move the directive on cyber to the first item on the agenda after announcements. I have a couple of announcements. First, I'd like to introduce my new executive assistant. Her name is Dylan Mowbray. Dylan, please stand up. All complaints now go to Dylan. So at some point, I'd like the staff to interact with her and share their contact details. They can all get through Brandon and Catherine and share contact information. And for all the company utilities, y'all will be able to finally do that. Her actual first day will be April 7th, but we wanted to get her introduced to y'all so we can go from there. The second announcement is Friday in Baton Rouge, which will start at 9 a.m. and will go all day through the day, will be the Atlantic Council will be hosting the Frontier Initiative, which is about the modern nuclear pathway for the United States, and including Louisiana. And Louisiana is going to be the primary focus. It's going to be at the downtown Hilton Baton Rouge. You're all welcome to attend. You contact Lauren Evans, who's sitting over there smiling about this opportunity for marshaling this invitation out to you. My understanding is the governor is going to open the process for us at 9 o'clock, and we will go all day. I think you'll find it interesting. We're going to have participants from a variety of Louisiana industries, as well as Louisiana utilities and nuclear advocates from around the country to talk about sort of the pathway for inclusion of this resource. And on one last thing, and this is after discussions with staff and also with Commissioner Couson, and this is about one particular case. The case is the Roosevelt case. And it's something I think it's important. We've moved this item till next month. But I do think, from my own personal view of this, that I do want to tell you that the Commission in common carrier cases does aggressively pursue common carry cases, particularly in hazardous waste matters, towing cases, moving cases, a lot of things that are fundamentally impact the public directly. But what we don't do is aggressively pursue issues associated with pipeline tariffs. They come to us particularly through two issues. The first would be when pipeline tariffs have to be approved to obtain finance on pipelines. And the people who are running the money markets need to have pipeline tariffs established. And the other one usually comes to us with parties who are in conflict on a pipeline tariff. And so there's this concern of the oil industry and the terminal industry of, opening up I guess, nicest way to say this, a can of worms on this, is, I think, largely unfounded because the commission itself does not go out and hunt pipeline tariff cases. They come to us when they have conflict where they cannot find a result through interpersonal work on this. They need a place of resort, whether it's going to be here or it's going to be through the civil process ordinaria. And that eventually could start here, and it could go to the civil court system, or it could go to the civil court system. Either way, it's a pathway. And they may end up being sent here regardless if it goes to a civil court system. It may be sent back down to us. So I do think it is the proper location for the action to take place, and I do think that the administrative law judge was right. It's just a comment that I'm making in the announcement, and I think we'll get to that next month. But other than that, I have no other announcements.
Will announcements?
Announcements, yes, sir. Commissioner Cousal, next.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. First and most importantly, it's my Chief of Staff's birthday this morning, so Grayson Walsh, happy birthday to you.
Hey, all right.
And we're glad to see you here, recovering and with a smile on your face. So this year will be your year, my friend. Secondly, to Commissioner Scameta's point, obviously we have two parties that are in a conflict, and likewise, we do want to allow the staff some time to give us their even more in-depth opinion, Ms. Baumann, of the effects of our ruling in the event that we rule in favor of jurisdiction. And what does it look like from a budgetary and staffing situation relative to how many instances we've gotten calls over the years about a situation like this, to the point, to Mr. Scameta's point. My communication with oil and gas marketing experts that are familiar with all of these parties and familiar with Louisiana's position in the oil and gas industry is that it may not be as big of a situation where there's a slippery slope argument that you might think about on its face. Where one oil and gas marketer said that there was only one situation in the last 12 years where they thought that this could have come to the PSC if we had ruled that we would have jurisdiction in this case. And that was a situation where a portion of a pipeline had gotten sold off to someone outside of the normal process, and so they were increasing their fees just for traveling through that portion of the pipeline. And this is someone that does this as their career over the last 25 years. So with that said, I'd like you to do a deep dive into that as our budget is pending with the state, and we're talking about staffing issues. When we rule next time, if that rule is that we have jurisdiction, would that impact our staffing issues and our jurisdictional issues that we're facing on an ordinary basis?
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Ms. Catherine, is that Bauman or Bowman?
It's Bowen.
Okay.
Well, it's Couson, not Pousson.
Okay. All right. Oh, hey, one for one today, all right? Commissioner Campbell, did you have something?
Yeah, Commissioner Campbell has something he wanted me to read, so we're trading glasses, but I think he's got another pair now. This is a letter to the editor that Foster sent out I think it was last week. When they vote on March 29th, Louisiana voters should reject Constitutional Amendment Number 2. Passage of this irresponsible amendment will destroy a carefully managed savings account that has funded classroom needs in our state's public and private schools for more than 30 years. As a member of the Louisiana Senate in 1990, I led the fight to establish this savings account. This was on my mind in 1999 when I considered how the legislature would spend $4 billion paid to the state by big tobacco companies. Most of this tobacco settlement would rightly be devoted to public health, but I argued that 1/4 of the settlement should go to education. Just a few years before, I had worked with elected officials in Bossier Parish to budget $500,000 in proceeds from the state casino tax to education. The result was the Bossier Educational Excellence Fund, or BEEF. Thanks to BEEF, the Bossier Parish School Board has for decades deposited its casino revenue into a savings account and used the interest earned to fund classroom needs. The result is that BEEF now has a secure balance of $70 million. The school board invests the principal and uses interest earnings every year to pay for computers, art supplies, and other classroom enhancements. BEEF was my model for the Louisiana Education Excellence Fund. With help from my fellow Democrat Randy Ewing, as well as Republican colleagues, including John Hankel and Jay Darden, the legislature dedicated $1 billion of the $4 billion tobacco settlement to the EEF. Thanks to that legislative foresight and the subsequent support of Louisiana voters in amending the state constitution, the EEF fund now has a balance of $482 million. Interest earned on the balance pays for classroom needs in the school systems throughout Louisiana each year. One of the stated goals of Amendment 2 is to fund teacher pay raises. During my 27-year Senate tenure, I recognized the challenges faced by our teachers and voted for every teacher pay raise. Our teachers today need better pay, but it's foolish to fund raises by destroying a savings account that yields continuing benefits each year for school children in our public and private schools. Don't fool with a good thing. The Educational Excellence Fund is a good thing for our public and private elementary and secondary schools. Just vote no on Amendment number 2. And that's Foster's letter to the editor.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I want to say a few things about this, if everybody wants to. This is just my opinion. I think it's a good opinion. You have a chance to vote for Amendment 2 or against Amendment 2 this coming weekend. I hope you vote against it. When I was in the legislature, we sued the tobacco companies. Mike Foster was governor, didn't want to sue the tobacco companies because he said nobody makes people smoke. But we've taken care of a lot of poor people in the various hospitals through the years with cancer of the lung, emphysema, different kind of diseases. We sued them and we got $4 billion. That's how much we would have lost if we wouldn't have sued them. I was able to take $1 billion and create the Louisiana Educational Excellence Fund, LEAF, and take money and put it in there with specifications now. It's very, very limited. No football, no basketball, no baseball. It has to be in a classroom. You can't build buildings with it. It's safeguarded money in our fund. If teachers want a pay raise, I was in the Senate for 27 years. I never voted against a teacher. But there's other places to get money and that you can raise money. You don't need to break these special funds because there's some money there to give teachers a pay raise. If it's $2,000 a year, when you pay the taxes, they'll wind up getting about $125 a month, which is some money, but you're gonna bust a $450 million trust fund to give the teachers $150 a month pay raise. I think that's foolish. There's other places to get the money. It was $1 billion till Mr. Jindal got to be governor, and he took about $400 million for his projects. Everybody wants to go where the money is and take a little bit for their special project. This money goes to all the schools. Everybody up here has a school. Everybody out there has a school. This distributed per pupil ratio, how many people in your classes. For example, in Bossier Parish, my parish got $450,000 a year out of this fund. Caddo Parish got more because the Caddo had more members. So I hope you can vote no. It's a smart thing to do. I see where the Morning Advocate came out against it. I'm glad to see that. There's other places to get money. Teachers need a pay raise. I'm all for it. Like I told you, I was in the Senate 27 years. I never voted against a pay raise. And I'm not voting against this one. I'm voting against breaking up a trust fund. When you break up trust fund, the money goes. There's always 100 good reasons that it goes. And they're looking someplace now. They want to get the teachers on their side. And when I was a teacher, $150 a month is a big deal. But it's not worth busting up a $450 million trust fund that gives money every year to all the parishes and their Catholic schools, and parochial schools, all Baptist schools or whatever you got. They all share in the money. That's the only way I could get John Hankel and other people to help me vote for it. They had to make sure the Catholic schools were covered, and I was glad to do it. So anyway, that's all I got to say. I sent this thing out to y'all. Y'all can read it and think about it, but I hope you can vote no this coming Saturday. Thank you very much.
Okay, Commissioner Campbell votes no on Amendment 2. Commissioner Scrumetta, how you vote?
Who do you say?
I haven't read them all.
Well,
I'm gonna be like the rest of the population,
All
and read
right.
them at the polls.
Well, God forgive me, the chair votes yes on number 2. How you vote, Commissioner Lewis?
I'm with my good friend over there on the other side, Mr. Campbell. I'm voting no on Amendment 2.
Okay. Richard. Casal.
Let's just say it's too late.
All right. All
I
right.
voted early.
Forgive me, Lord, for my first sin today. Okay, moving on.
Wait, Mr. Chairman, I guess.
No, so I was in the legislature, strong support of Amendment 2, and it's an important step for the progress of the state.
I think all the Republican legislators voted to support number 2, if I don't remember right. Okay, let's move on.
Mr. Chairman, I have some announcements real quick.
When you bust those trust funds, 4G and things like that, people worked hard to put, it's easy to spend the money. Spending money is the easiest thing in the world. Saving money is hard. And protecting money is hard, but you can spend the hell out of money. That's easy. Everybody wants to spend money. But saving it and making sure it goes in the right places is another thing.
Okay, Commissioner Lewis has something to say about announcements.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not going to talk about the amendments. First, I want to congratulate my alma mater in your district, McNeese State University's men's basketball team, for advancing in the NCAA tournament. Go Pokes! As you can see, I wore my tie about sometime in college to support Will Wade. I know he's moving on from McNeese and going to North Carolina State University, but he brought some great pride to the Polk Nation and to Lake Charles, and so as a former Polk, I want to congratulate them on a successful journey and also breaking my bracket because I did not pick them to win, so I lost very early. So I probably should always bet on my alma mater. Mr. Chairman, I also want to concur in the comments that Commissioner Scrumetta and Commissioner Kusan made on agenda item number 24. I know we have deferred that for a month, but I do think it is an important case for the commission. I think we should take this very seriously. I know there's conversations about potentially going across the street for legislative fixes, but I think what Commissioner Scrumetta and Commissioner Kusan have already stated, I concur in those views and wanted to put that on the record as well. I know we were going to talk today about energy efficiency, and we have deferred that motion until May, but I wanted to make sure that we were aware that the American Council for an Energy Efficiency Economy released their 2025 scorecard. It's an independent analysis of energy efficiency across the country. And Louisiana was named one of the most improved states. Our rankings moved up 9 spots due to the work that we did here at the commission, as well as the legislature updating our building codes. Right now, we have been in a very ambitious utility energy savings goal here in Louisiana in our current rule, becoming the first state in the South to switch our energy efficiency to an independent program run by the commission. And I think the work that we've already done speaks for itself. We are seeing that the independent analysis is showcasing that we are making progress, and I'm hopeful that this commission will continue to make progress towards making Louisiana more energy efficient. As you know, I've stressed multiple times, we are a very high consumption state. Our residential consumers consume more energy than any other state in the nation, which means if we are going to seriously talk about our demand crisis that we're coming from big plants, we have to talk about reducing our capacity, which is energy efficiency and demand response. That's how we're going to ensure people have affordable bills, and it makes great investments into our state's future and into our state's economic future. And so I look forward to the remaining conversations on it, but I wanted everyone to know how the independent analysis is showing the progress that Louisiana has already made. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And I want to fortify what he just said about energy efficiency. We actually haven't started a new program yet, so we're on the way up, and we're going to continue to go up with that, God willing. Thank you. Any other announcements of any kind? Ms. Bowman.
So we are going to go to exhibit number 26 first, which is undocketed, and it's a directive to staff regarding cybersecurity at the
Let
request.
me ask you a question, why are we going to 26?
That's me. I've made a request to move it up.
Just asked to move it up to the beginning of the agenda. And this is at the request of Vice Chairman Scrumetta. I direct staff to look into the potential effects data centers can have on utility infrastructure, specifically from the cybersecurity perspective. This should be done in connection with our current cybersecurity monitoring docket, which is docket number X35764. Depending on the information garnered and if deemed necessary, staff is directed to open a rulemaking to look at establishing safeguards for jurisdictional utilities in connection with potential cybersecurity threats. In conducting this research, staff is also directed to coordinate with our current team on cybersecurity.
Any comments, any opposition to that? Put there. Hearing none, we will follow through with Commissioner Scamatta's proposal.
So going back to the front of the agenda with exhibit number 2, it's docket number T37409. This is the Commission versus Tiger Airport Shuttle regarding an alleged violation of the revised statutes 45-161 through 180.1 and General Order dated April 25th of 2012 by engaging in activities related to transporting passengers intrastate without Commission authority. It's a discussion and possible vote pursuant to Rule 57 on an affidavit and stipulation executed by the carrier, so this will need 2 votes. As a result of a complaint submitted to transportation staff, a citation was issued to Tiger Airport on October the 22nd, 2024. In response to the citation, the owner of the company executed an affidavit and stipulation admitting to violating all of the violations, and the carrier agreed to the imposition of a $500 fine and $25 citation fee, with $500 being suspended, contingent on Tiger Airport Shuttle ceasing to conduct LPSC regulated services until such time as a common carrier certificate is issued to Tiger Airport. Execute the affidavit and stipulation along with the fines and fees totaling $525, and acknowledging that failure to comply with the affidavit and stipulation will result in the $500 suspended portion becoming immediately due. Staff recommends that the Commission exercise its original and primary jurisdiction under Rule 57 to consider the affidavit and stipulation, and 2, accept the affidavit and stipulation executed on February 26, 2025 for fines and fees totaling $525.
Move to bring the matter up under Rule 57.
Second.
We have a move by Commissioner Scamatta to take it up under Rule 57, seconded by Commissioner Cusson. Is there any objection to that? Hearing none, we'll make a motion to accept
Second.
number 3, and by the chair, seconded by Commissioner Scamatta. Is there any discussion or objection to that? Hearing none, it's in the books.
Exhibit number 3 is deferred, so we'll move to exhibit number 4, which is docket number R31106.
Did you also defer 4?
No,
sir.
Okay.
not deferred.
It's a rulemaking to study the possible
Okay.
development of financial incentives for the promotion of energy efficiency by jurisdictional electric and gas utilities. It's a discussion and possible vote to retain an evaluation, measurement, and verification contractor. And based on the general order dated April 24th of 2024 and the assistance from Jay Kennedy, staff issued an RFP 2409 in October of last year. It resulted in 4 companies being qualified to be the Commission's energy efficiency EM&V contractor. Staff has reviewed all 4 proposals, conducted interviews, and conducted reference checks. The 4 companies that submitted proposals to the Commission were DNV for a total budget of $4,537,405, Tetra Tech for a total budget of $7,238,549, Opinion Dynamics for a total budget of $8,425,000, and ADM for a total budget of $10,913,933. Staff makes no recommendation as all 4 bidders are qualified, but before we entertain a motion, we do have comment cards, but it just references the energy efficiency docket. So I'm not sure if any of these people would like to speak on exhibit number 4. If you do, raise your hand or stand up. Okay. So we can entertain.
Chair makes a motion that we accept number 2, Tetra Tech as the is our choice for this number 4.
I'll second.
What are you
It's
doing?
seconded by Commissioner Lewis.
Objection.
And we have an objection, so we'd have a roll call vote.
Actually, I want to make a statement about the objection.
All right.
First off, I haven't not had any of these companies come and talk to me about this. These numbers seem to be extraordinarily high without explanation and a visit on these things. These type of numbers are extraordinarily high, and these type of numbers for this type of work eventually have rate impact on ratepayers. At a time where we're looking to avoid waste, fraud, and abuse in government contracting, this is the type of thing where you question where we are. We've just had a statement from Commissioner Lewis about how we've been recognized as having a big steps forward in improvement in energy efficiency with a program that we've been running that has had no contractor like this, and we've been able to save money. And then the money we've been saving, we're looking right now to hire somebody and propose right now to pay them over $7 million. It seems to be counterintuitive, but at the same time, not having spoken to anybody to know what they're going to do with for this money, I can't in any good conscience vote on this item. So I'm going to vote no versus voting yes, or even abstaining. I'm just going to vote no.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, recognize Commissioner Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe it's important that we move forward in hiring an EMV contractor. I mean, I have sat through and met with all the companies, read their proposals. I first want to say that we saw very great responses, thorough responses. I particularly want to, even though the motion on the table right now is for Tetra Tech, I want to commend Opinion Dynamics. They were a very strong bid and wrestled. I would say for the record that Tetra Tech is also hired by our current IOUs. So I would say that it's not creating new administrative costs. It's just now the commission sees those costs because the utility typically hires their EMV contractor. So I don't think we are going to see rate impact, because if we're looking at who they already work for, they are the EMV contractor for Entergy currently. They are the EMV contractor for SWEPCO. They have in their bid Frontier, who works for CLECO and SWEPCO. So this is, to me, moving the same people that are doing the great work in Louisiana to the forefront for everyone to be able to see. And I support that we need to continue to move forward with our program. And this would make the most sense today to hire Tetra Tech, and that's why I seconded the chairman's motion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I want to make a brief statement. In making this motion, I had serious consultation with Ms. Bowman on this. She's kind of been the key staffer on this. Do you have any, can you make us simplify this situation, Andy, from what you've heard so far?
Can I ask her in another way?
All right,
Please.
please.
My question for the staff is, what are the contractual obligations should we move forward today with a vote, but then move in a different direction, in our next meeting? And because I would not want to put us in a position where we obligate ourselves to spend money on something that doesn't actually become part of the final program. I understand that there is an opinion that there will be a need for this aspect of the energy efficiency program under either option that we move forward with in the next few months. But could you express your opinion on the contractual side of this if we move forward with this vote today? Because I'm very concerned about that part of it.
Absolutely. So the vote today starts the contract negotiation with whichever company we hire. Specifically for this, because it's such a large amount, when we hired Aptum, we went through at least a month and a half, maybe 2 months of contract negotiations with them prior to executing the contract and prior to them actually starting work for us as the statewide program administrator. The same thing would happen in this one. For Aptum's contract, and I would have the same clause in this contract, is that the commission has the ability to terminate or cancel the contract with 30-day written notice. So if we do decide to move into a different direction once this EMV contractor is hired and we determine that they're no longer needed, we would need to provide them 30 days written notice of the termination of the contract, and we could terminate.
Okay, and I would also add to Commissioner Kutzall, to these 4 contractors, you need to go see Commissioner Scametta. They've come to see me, and apparently Commissioner Lewis, and I don't know why, maybe the airlines going to New Orleans was blocked.
And
for some
I will
reason.
relay that to the companies
Yeah.
as well.
And I appreciate what Commissioner Couson has said. This is just the very beginning of this. This is not something that we can't unwind if we need to, and as we study this over the next month or so.
I have one comment.
Okay, Commissioner.
You know, Commissioner Lewis said that, you know, this amount of money is already going to be, effectively what I'm garnering from what you said, was that these are funds that are being paid by the utilities themselves, so it's going to be an offset. I don't see it that way until I see it that way in writing, that this could effectively be a double dip, that the utilities are going to pay these people if they're already working for them, which I do not know that all of these companies are working for, or if even Tetra Tech's working for all the utilities, because I don't believe that's the case. Because I know for sure that one of them does not use them, and that two, if it is going to be a double dip, then it is going to be a layup of extra money on top of it. So it's a problem from not even creative accounting, but just piling on cash for no reason whatsoever. So I understand that this is the beginning, but this looks like a real cart before the horse moment. So which is, I have a continuing problem with it. And look, they can come see me all they want, and I appreciate that, and I'll be glad to talk to them. But, you know, in meeting with the various utilities, they are all, and have performed adequately, and actually beyond adequately, on managing their programs. And to throw more money on top of it, then are we saying that we're going to take somebody that we're going to pay here and remove the utilities personnel from doing the job and replace it with this person? Because that's taking away the company's internal action and operator and replacing it with this, which I understand we're not doing. So this is a confusing aspect of what this contractor would be doing, because we don't really have the rule yet. But, and like I say, I see a real big problem with stepping into this with this, what I see as an incorrect statement as to this is going to eliminate the cost associated with this type of work from the utilities and replace it with this. And then it's going to have to recover it back from the utilities, so it's going to be an offset. I don't see it that way, and until it's clarified that it's just a simple offset, then I can't vote for this. Thank you.
Okay, Chair calls for a roll call vote. Commissioner Scametta?
No, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
We have one constituent who would like to speak.
Sure, okay.
They did, yes. And is it Miss Marianne, is it Mushat? And Ms. Mushat, please just limit your comments to the EMB contractor hire, because that's the only vote that we're discussing today. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, and
My button, so.
What's your name, please?
Marianne Mushat.
Marianne.
I am a constituent of Commissioner Scrametta, and I live in New Orleans.
Okay.
And I am in full support of taking the efficiency component out of energy and placing it in a third party.
Okay.
And I just want to say, I have had energy's efficiency people come out to my house twice, and all they did was give me light bulbs and a little thing to put on my kitchen sink to make the stream a shower, and that was their concept of helping me save energy. So I question that last statement about how they're doing such a good job. And I just think you should stay the course, take it out of the vendor and give it to an independent party to help the people of Louisiana. That's basically all I
Thank
want
you,
to say.
Mary Ann. Jenner, do you want to come forward and defend herself on that? Okay, seeing no energy person,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
Could we have a representative of Entergy, SWEPCO, and Tetra Tech, please? I do have some questions. Huh?
Entergy, SWEPCO, and Tetra Tech, or okay.
I believe so.
And I don't know if Tetra Tech has someone here.
They do.
Oh, okay. Oh, hi. I didn't see you earlier. I was hiding in the back.
Good morning,
Okay,
Commissioner.
I think first thing I would like to hear from Entergy about the light bulbs and the faucet thing they got.
If I heard correctly, and I think I did, the lady who spoke is a resident of New Orleans. Correct. I work for Entergy Louisiana.
Oh, okay.
I can't speak to Entergy New Orleans' programs, so with all due
Yeah, just-
respect, I'm not the right person to
So,
talk about
Entergy New Orleans is regulated by the mayor and the city council, not the commission, all
The
right?
city council, and they have a separate energy efficiency program, and I just can't speak to the ins and outs of it.
Okay, just delete my request to get an explanation.
Acknowledged.
Okay, thank you, all right. So we've got,
I have one quick
Commissioner
question
Lewis,
for Larry. Mr. Hand, can you explain Entergy's current E&MV contractor and how you hired them? What do those administrative costs look like? I mean, I think there's some confusion, but that's why I called you up to the table to explain kind of what you're already doing with an E&V contractor.
I will do my best, and with all due respect, at a high level, because I don't have the details. My expert on energy efficiency, Heather LeBlanc is not here. She could, and I'll bring her to meet with you guys to talk through it, but at a high level, we do contract for EM&V services under the utility-led program. I will, not to disparage anybody, we did switch the company that we use for EM&V services from a different provider. We had issues with a different provider. We were not pleased with the level of service. We did switch, I believe last year, don't quote me on the date, we did switch to contract with Tetra Tech as our provider now. I don't know the amount of the contract, and even if I did, I don't know that I would want to disclose it publicly, but we did switch to them. It is part of the services, we contracted for under our utility-led programs. I don't know if that helps.
No, that absolutely helps, and I see our friends from Frontier and Tetra Tech. I just,
Actually, I'm from SWEPCO.
I'm sorry.
we're gonna change it.
We talked
We
about
may
Frontier
have,
with you, so apologies for getting mixed up. But also, I would like to hear your response, kind of that same question I asked Mr.
We're gonna
Hand.
get some bells.
Well, we
And
do.
please introduce yourself for the record.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'm Deborah Miller. I manage the energy efficiency programs for SWEPCO. We currently use a different EM&V evaluator in Louisiana. We use Tetra Tech in our Texas programs, and that's why I was asked to come up here and speak about them.
Got you. Thank you. Thank you so much for that clarification. Mr. Chairman, I'm good. No more questions.
Okay,
And we have one more.
anybody else?
Yes, sir. We have one more constituent who would like to speak very briefly. He
Okay.
promised he'd be brief. Mr. Clark, you wanna walk up?
There's a guy in that red shirt, hey,
Deborah, will you sign a yellow card, please?
I forgot.
Mr. Clark?
Take on and do this ourselves, the more we expose ourselves. Y'all can just go bring them over there and.
Morning.
Hit the green button.
What's your name?
There you go.
Jim Clark.
Jim? Hey, Jim, go ahead.
I'm an energy efficiency contractor in the energy and the CLECO program.
Okay.
And because you guys deferred number 3, I wasn't gonna come up and speak because that's what I'm really interested in. The lady that came up a while ago is speaking on the crux of my issue with the programs. She lives in New Orleans, so she's obviously an energy customer. She probably has gas heat. Energy and CLECO treat gas customers completely different. If you're an energy customer, you get almost no rebate to help towards your energy efficiency upgrade, which will be the same process when the TPA takes over the whole thing. If you're a CLECO customer, y'all get treated the same. So when energy contractors come in to do the work, we can do more work per home with less outlay from the customers to get the most energy efficiency upgrades for the customer. I met with a couple of the energy heads for the couple of the commissioners, and it doesn't seem like anybody knows a lot about the residential side. Everybody's focused on commercial because that's where the big green energy savings come in.
Yeah.
So I would beg you guys to hold off and learn more about the way the residential programs work, because that's who votes for you. Those are the people that need to save money. Those are the ones that need the energy efficiency upgrades to pay their bills. And we make huge differences in people's homes in St. Tammany. I mean, monstrous. I would venture to say that we do more work per home than any other contractor in the program, and have for the last 7 or 8 years. I wasn't gonna speak because, like I said, you deferred the deal, but I had to answer that because the difference between treating customers the same means that in St. Tammany Parish, every single citizen is a customer without any drawbacks. When you go into the energy program and a contractor goes into a gas furnished home, I mean, it's like 20 cents a square foot towards a insulation rebate. In CLECO, it's 60 cents a square foot. Because CLECO gives 74% of the funds back to the consumer, and energy's about 51 because of their higher overhead with the corporate administration of the program. And that's what we want to do all over the state, especially the people in the outlying areas. They're going to be completely left out. No contractor is going to travel an hour to not make any money on a house. And although we want to help people, we do run businesses. So that's real. I'd like to meet with every one of you. I've talked to Commissioner Lewis, I've talked to Mary, and I used to speak with Bill Robinson all the time, Foster. He was a great guy.
Jim, listen, we hear what you're saying. We want to hear from the contractors like yourself. Just for your benefit, these rules are not locked in today.
Right.
We are working on changing them to be friendly to the homeowners and consumers, and the best advice is going to come from the vendors who get out there, and we want you to make a profit and have a stable business, and and we can't do the job without you. So come see the commissioners. I'll share that word all over the state to each of us. We're listening to you, and we want to improve the system we have. And
Awesome.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I would, if, under the current rule, we've created an energy efficiency working group to address these questions and challenges that you've brought up. So I know we may be having a working group meeting relatively soon, so I would advise you, and I'll work with you, and my staff will work to get that information, to attend the working group, which has the utilities, it has advocates. We definitely want trade allies, so we are making sure that we are looking at every issue from every vantage point. And so under the current rule right now, we've developed that working group, so I would encourage you to please join us and bring those details so we can make sure that if there's anything that needs to be tweaked, changed, or address some of your concerns, we can do that as well.
Awesome. Okay, thank you, guys.
okay, any other? Okay, well, let's call a roll call.
Mr. Chairman, one last comment on the issue, and ordinarily I would defer to my colleague who is asking for a delay on this matter. But out of respect to the contractors who have submitted bids, who have flown in and traveled from around the United States to meet with some of us, obviously not all of us, they were consummate professionals. I believe they all presented excellent bids for us to choose from. Out of respect to their time and their efforts in running their own businesses, I think it would be a disservice to them to postpone this for another 4 weeks when obviously our colleague would maybe meet with them but might not change his overall opinion on whether or not any of them should be hired. And so out of respect to him, so that he's not wasting his time, out of respect to the companies, I'm going to support the motion that was made, and I'll be voting along with you in the second.
Okay, let's call roll on Exhibit 4. Commissioner Scametta?
No.
Commissioner Campbell?
No.
Commissioner Lewis?
Yes.
Commissioner Couson? Yes?
Yes.
The chairman votes yes, so it's 3-2, so number 4 is passed. Number 5?
Exhibit number 5 is the same docket, R31106, the Commission's Energy Efficiency docket. It's a discussion and possible vote to approve a proposed budget increase of Chris Justin due to a scope expansion. This was Exhibit 4 last month. During the transition period from the Quick Start to the statewide program, a need was identified for the Commission to have assistance in researching and providing analysis of external energy efficiency programs and exploring the integration of complementary programs. Chris Justin was retained at the Commission's February 2024 B&E to assist the Commission, and in order to ensure a timely and smooth rollout, the Commission has identified the need to keep Mr. Justin retained as a liaison between the Commissioners. Based on the identified need, Mr. Justin submitted a proposed budget of $72,000 in fees and $12,000 in expenses for a total budget not to exceed of $84,000. Staff recommends that the Commission retain Christopher Justin for a budget of $72,000 in fees and $12,000 in expenses for a total budget not to exceed of $84,000. And again, just for clarity, since this is also on docket R31106, I have a couple of cards who have not spoke yet. I just want to make sure you do not want to speak on this item as well. Okay, we are good.
Seeing none, I'll
Is
make a
Mr.
motion.
Justin around?
Sorry?
Mr. Justin,
He's here, yes, sir.
where is he? Tell him to come up here. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Tell me exactly what you've been doing.
I have been, excuse me, Chris Justin, consultant for the PSC. I have been assisting commissioners with requests to understand the program design, the upcoming program design, the cost-benefit analysis of the change, and identifying opportunities for improvement.
Did you contact our office,
I did, yes.
and what happened?
I spoke to Joe a couple times.
What did Joe tell you?
Joe told me that he has been supportive, that he's appreciated the work that I've done for the programs, and I again offered to meet with you anytime you're available. At the end of the meeting last month, I offered as well to meet with you, and yeah, Joe has shared that he thought that overall I was doing a good job.
You worked at Motiva?
Yes,
As an
yes, sir. I
engineer-
worked
As
at
an
the
engineer?
Shell Norco refinery for 6 years as a chemical engineer.
What kind of engineer are you?
Chemical.
Chemical engineer? Okay. So, did you set this salary schedule? I mean, is that your ideal? Who set the $72,000 a year?
That was working with Catherine to identify the needs of the commission, and discussion with Catherine and Commissioner Francis. Those are the primary parties that worked through that.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about it, but that's okay.
I am happy to meet with you at your convenience. I'm happy to come up to your office next week.
There's more than two people up here.
I have met with the remaining commissioners, and I'm very happy to meet with you anytime that you are available.
I heard you were very polite, and I appreciate that. So I'm gonna vote for you, but next time, check with everybody.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to make a motion, we accept staff's recommendation. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Lewis. Is there any objection or any other discussion on this issue? Hearing none, exhibit number 5 is approved. Exhibit 6.
Exhibit 6 is deferred, and Exhibit 7 is docket number S37391. It's 1803 Electric Cooperative's petition for approval of a letter of non-opposition authorizing 1803 to secure a loan for the acquisition of transmission assets. It's a discussion and possible vote on a staff report and recommendation. On September 24th of 2024, 1803 filed his request pursuant to General Order dated November 13th of 1996. The request seeks the Commission's approval authorizing 1803 to enter into a financial arrangement with Rural Utility Services in connection with initial acquisition costs and capital improvements through 2027. The request was published in the Commission's official bulletin and no interventions were received. 1803 seeks to have a loan of approximately $41.5 million, which would be drawn down as needed, and expects to be able to make those draws to acquire the transmission assets and then reimburse capital projects upon completion of those projects. Due to delays with the RUS system, 1803 also filed a supplemental request to include a bridge loan with CoBank for approximately $22 million with a 2-year maturity date from the closing. On March 13th of 2025, staff filed its report and recommendation into the record and concurred with 1803's assertion that the requests are in the public interest and will have no immediate effect on rates and terms of service conditions for its members. Staff further recommended that the commission expresses non-opposition to 1803's request, subject to standard conditions associated with loan approvals. Staff recommends that the commission accept the staff report and recommendation filed into the record on March 13th of 2025.
Where are the people from 1803?
I know Mr. Hobbs is here. I saw him earlier.
I think Foster
there he
wants
is.
you up.
Come on up, Brian.
And just when you guys get done, please fill out a card. Thank you.
Commissioners, Kyle Marino on behalf of 1803.
Brian Hobbs, CEO at 1803 Electric Cooperative.
I got a question. It's on everybody's mind. Y'all made a lot of promises about lowering the utility rates. I voted for it, and I voted for y'all. Are we still on the same railroad?
We are. We began service to our first co-op on January 1, and the transition went very, very smoothly. We looked at costs for that cooperative in the month previous to service and the month after, and there was a significant reduction.
So there is gonna be, at first y'all said it was gonna be a 20% reduction. That's what you were selling. Are we still on for that?
As we said a couple of months ago, we went through an analysis. At that time, we were still showing about 17%. And I want to remind the commission that that was all based on a 2026 look. This year, the transition year, there's a lot of moving parts. So we really won't be in normal operation until 2026. And so that's the comparisons that we've been doing on rates.
So in 2026, we can expect a reduction. Your folks.
That is
How many co-ops are 5? You have 5?
5 that will be taking all requirements power supply from us, yes.
All right, I don't have any other questions.
Who are the 5 co-ops you represent?
Claiborne Electric Cooperative, Beauregard Electric Cooperative, Northeast Louisiana Electric Cooperative, South Louisiana Electric Cooperative, and Washington St. Tammany.
Concordia's in it? No?
No.
That's Northeast.
Point Coupee is a transmission-only member.
Yeah,
They're not
okay.
buying power, they're taking transmission service.
So you have a major footprint in the Commissioner Campbell's area.
We do?
Yeah,
Spread all over the state, too.
yeah, all right. Yeah, in my area too. Okay. Any other questions? And I'd like to make a motion, we accept the proposition by 1803 on exhibit number 7.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Campbell. Is any discussion or objection? Hearing none, 7 is in the books.
Thank you.
Exhibit number 8 is docket number S37410. This is Dixie Electric Membership Corporation's request for letter of non-opposition.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Statement from Commissioner Cousin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, a brief moment of personal privilege. I'd like to welcome someone to our meeting who may not be able to stay the entire time. But many years ago, I befriended a young legislator who was a leader on the floor and vigorously represented his constituents. And following his tenure at the legislature, he was elected to become the parish president of West Feliciana. So I just want to welcome Parish President Kenny Havard to our meeting today. Thank you for coming, Kenny. It's good to see you. Yes, sir.
Stand up, Kenny. Let's see you.
Stand up, Kenny. There you go. I was able to spend a little time in West Feliciana in the hamlet of St. Francisville this weekend for the Tunica Hills Music Festival. And it won't be secret for long, Kenny, but it was a nice and pleasant experience. And it was good to be out there in West Feliciana. And y'all have a great thing going up there. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Crisop. Ms. Bowman?
Thank you. So exhibit number 8, docket S37410, this is DIMCO's request for a letter of non-opposition authorizing to secure a loan for a 4-year construction work plan and mortgage assets associated therewith. It's a discussion and possible vote on a staff report and recommendation. On October 22nd of 2024, DIMCO
Dixie Electric.
filed its request, and notice of the request was filed in the Commission's official bulletin with no interventions being received. DIMCO sought to enter into a loan agreement valued at approximately $236 million with FFB for a 30-year term with a fixed interest rate to be determined at the time each loan advance, while the company works to enact its construction work plan. The loan will be secured through mortgage of DIMCO's assets. On February 17th of 2025, staff filed its report and recommendation into the record and concurred with DIMCO's assertion that the request is in the public interest and will have no immediate effect on rates and terms of service conditions for its members. Staff further recommended that the Commission expresses non-opposition to DIMCO's request, subject to standard conditions associated with loan approvals. Staff recommends that the Commission accept staff's report and recommendation filed into the record on February 17th of 2025.
Move to accept staff recommendation.
It's a motion by.
Is anybody here with DIMCO like to tell us what's going on?
And I move to accept.
Okay, Commissioner Scametta moves to accept, and I'll second it. I'd just like to, let's hear from DIMCO. We're right here in your neighborhood. What are you doing with all this money?
Good afternoon, Kara Cantrell on behalf of DIMCO, and I have Jeff Andre, Chief Strategy and Regulatory Officer.
Commissioner Scametta?
I don't have any questions for them.
Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Lewis.
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I want to commend you all for securing federal funds to improve system reliability. As you know, I've been a big proponent of utilizing federal programs, and I know there's a lot of layers of oversight, but you believe this will ultimately benefit your members, correct?
Yes.
So the only question I have is I'm looking at the structure of the loan. It's correct that there's no immediate rate impact, and anything would be reviewed in your next FRP rate case. Is that my understanding correct on that?
That's correct, right? And the interest rate is determined upon when they pull the money out.
Perfect, great. Full support, but just wanted to make sure we clarified that and put that on the record.
That's right, Commissioner. This is non-opposition to the funding mechanism for the construction work plan. So it's a 30-year financing instrument that we would draw down on over time to complete projects. So no immediate rate impact.
Great. Let's just hope you get a good interest rate.
Yeah, if we drew today, it'd be 4.56%. So actually a little bit of a discount to 30-year treasuries.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Thank y'all for your attendance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we've got a motion and a second.
Yes, sir.
Is there any objections? Hearing none, number 8's in the books.
Exhibit number 9 is docket number S37461. This is Brightspeed of Louisiana and Brightspeed of South Arkansas's request for a letter of non-opposition to issuance of guarantees and pledge of assets as security in connection with the refinancing agreement of its parent company, Connect Holding II. Discussion and possible vote on a joint report and draft order. On December 10th of 2024, the companies requested non-opposition to granting security interest in their respective assets in connection with Connect Holding II's indirect parent, adding the companies as guarantors of Connect Holdings' secured debt. Notice of the request was published in the Commission's official bulletin and no interventions were filed. Pursuant to the Commission's 1994 general order, the company sought Commission approval to pledge their assets and issue guarantees as security for financing obtained by their direct parent company. The financial restructuring involves multiple debt facilities totaling approximately $7 billion. Upon review, staff determined that the proposed security interest presents no adverse impact on customers, competition, or service quality. There is no merger, acquisition, or transfer of control involved, and the companies will continue to operate as before. The financing does not involve a change in ownership or control, and staff found no risk that would warrant denial of the proposal. Staff filed its recommendation indicating such on March 5th of 2025. Staff recommends that the Commission expresses non-opposition, subject to the conditions contained in staff's report and recommendation, filed into the record on March 5th of 2025.
Motion to accept staff recommendation.
I'll second.
Commissioner Scametta Moves, accept, staff recommendation on Exhibit 9, seconded by Commissioner Lewis. Any objection or discussion? Hearing number 9 is in the books.
Catherine, I have a detailed motion for you from me on Exhibit 10. I've texted it to you, but I don't know if you already had it.
No, I do have it, yes, sir.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Exhibit number 10 is docket number U37143. This is Entergy Louisiana's request for an exemption under the Commission's General Order dated October 10th of 2013. It's a transmission siting order regarding the West Bank 230 kV transmission project. On March 22nd of 2024, Entergy filed the instant application in accordance with the Commission's General Order. The application was published in the Commission's official bulletin, and timely interventions were filed by LUG. On May 6th of 2024, Commission staff filed objection without prejudice, and LUG filed a statement of objection. Notice of assignment was issued in May 14th. In the application, Entergy sought, consistent with the Commission's transmission siting order, an exemption from certification with respect to the construction of the portfolio of the transmission projects. On February 11th of 2025, Entergy and staff filed a joint motion for the scheduling of hearing on uncontested stipulated settlement agreement, wherein Entergy and staff supported and LUG did not oppose the settlement of this proceeding. The uncontested stipulated settlement agreement resolves all issues in the docket and ultimately found that an exemption did not apply, but that certification was in the public interest. Staff recommends that the Commission accept the uncontested stipulated settlement filed into the record on February 11th of 2025. And as indicated, I have a motion by Commissioner Skrmeta.
Thank you.
He moves to approve the uncontested stipulated settlement, which would approve a portfolio of projects referred to as the West Bank 230 kV project. But he wants to provide context to the public for why the Commission is approving this project today. 2 days ago, President Trump and Governor Landry, joined by the other Louisiana leaders and Hyundai Motor Group, announced from the Oval Office that Hyundai Motor Group has made a groundbreaking decision to invest $5.8 billion in a new manufacturing facility in Louisiana. This first-of-its-kind site marks Hyundai's inaugural North American steel facility, establishing a fully integrated made-in-America supply chain to support its automotive manufacturing operations across the United States. The ultra-low-carbon steel production plant will be located on approximately 1,700 acres in Donaldsonville, anchoring the Riverplex Megapark on the west bank of the Mississippi River. At approximately 17,000 acres, the Riverplex is the largest undeveloped tract along the deepwater segment of the Mississippi River. Hyundai Steel Company, which is a member of Hyundai Motor Group, is expected to create more than 1,300 direct new jobs with an average salary of 95,000 jobs.
Wow.
With this announcement and previously announced Meta investment, Louisiana is winning and winning big. I want to thank Governor Landry for his leadership in positioning Louisiana for this moment. I also want to commend the Commission and my fellow commissioners for our part in preparing Louisiana. Projects like Hyundai Steel would not be possible without the Commission's oversight and approval of infrastructure projects like the West Bank 230 kV project. Not only does Louisiana need transmission investment to attract projects like these, but we also need an adequate supply of reliable and affordable generation. Through the integrated resource planning process and our certification proceedings over the last decade, Louisiana is able to offer reliable and affordable power that is attractive to companies like Hyundai and others. In fact, the most recent Energy Information Administration report indicated that Louisiana had the lowest industrial rates in the nation, and I want to underscore it. This enormous Hyundai investment in our state is a direct result of both proactive approach to investment in our electric grid and also the competitiveness of our industrial rates. I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and keep advancing the infrastructure needed to support Louisiana's economic development opportunity while ensuring cost-based, affordable rates for all residential, commercial, and industrial customers. And that ends the motion.
Okay, Entergy people come forward and no gloating, okay.
Can you get a second?
And you have a motion from Commissioner Skrmeta. Really appreciate that motion, and I'll second that. And I think we've got some questions from, first from Commissioner Lewis. And y'all announce who you are and everything.
Good morning again, Commissioners. Larry Hand on behalf of Entergy Louisiana.
Okay.
And Philip May, President and CEO of Entergy Louisiana.
Yeah, thank you for coming. Okay, Commissioner Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Larry and Phil. Just a few questions that I have for you. So my understanding is that this project will serve new and expanded industrial loads as a part of a larger three-part Amite South transmission project. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And it was, what was the level like of increase that you were seeing or you were projecting in that area?
In terms of load?
Yes. just in terms of load.
I can't speak to specific customers other than Hyundai Steel who's announced, right? So we're
Right.
not going to talk about specific customers, but, you know, as I think is well known, the west bank of the river in that area is largely undeveloped. A lot of the current industrial complex is on the east bank. And so that area has been identified for many years as being ripe for new industry. And we've been, you know, working through the transmission planning process. And it's definitely, I would say, in the thousands, not many thousands, but thousands of megawatt scale is the opportunity that we are pursuing and preparing for on the west bank of the river there. And Philip is probably closer to the details and may have a different sense of not only the scale of it, but also the different types of industries. And I do want to say, you know, we had this announcement in Louisiana. Philip and I were in Gonzales for the announcement. Governor Landry and other state leaders were in the Oval Office, so they kind of live streamed it. We did not get the invite, but we were super excited, and as excited as we are for the state with the Meta announcement, we're equally excited about projects like this, traditional industry, because the number of jobs, as was alluded to earlier, is just phenomenal. And so it's a lot of permanent jobs. It is you know, we love the technology and the data center doing it the right way. I think it's good for the state, but we also, you know, want to make sure we don't ignore what got us here today in terms of traditional industry. And I think a steel mill, certainly a low carbon steel mill, is just a great investment for the state. So we're super proud. But Philip, I'll let you get into more details.
Yeah, and specifically to your question, when we looked at the enormous pipeline of interest in Louisiana, we looked at where could world-scale projects locate. And frankly, there's very little space left in Louisiana that meets a certain criteria. Like, you gotta have deep water access, you have to have rail availability, you have to have gas pipeline, workforce, an ability to train that workforce, and of course, low-cost energy, both natural gas and electricity. And because there's so much out there that's coming, and I've been doing this for 40 years, we've never seen anything like what is about to come to Louisiana. It's an opportunity to change the economic trajectory of this state forever. But recognizing that this is a space, and talking about the pipeline that's coming, you know, you go back 5, 10, and certainly longer than that, you probably had 1 or 2 large projects. You couldn't really bet on those, because if one of them missed, you may have not gotten the thing you thought you were going to get. But it's the depth of the companies that are interested, the diversity of the companies that are interested, the size and the number of customers that are interested, that we felt that if we took some proactive steps, these things would fall in line. Hyundai Steel can't build and employ not just the 1,300 people that are going to be on that site every day, but the 5-time multiplier. It means more than 5,000 jobs. My understanding is Donaldsonville has a average income around $24,000, an incredible impact for that area. And by looking at that pipeline and understanding that, yes, we may have a bunch of these assigned at 30% or even 50%, but even because of the number there, even if just a few of those hit, it's going to be an enormous impact for the state of Louisiana. We went to Hyundai and visited Hyundai and their facilities twice ahead of this announcement. We visited a research and development facility that has a campus about the size of LSU with 14,000 employees working and thinking about what that future looks like. This is the kind of company you want to get a footprint in Louisiana. This is their first investment. This will not be their last investment, and the kind of investment a company, a partner that you want in the state of Louisiana, because they value the places where they work and live. And so all of that to say that these proactive investments are helping change the outlook for Louisiana. And I know many of you heard this before, but I continue to now get calls from folks who moved out of Louisiana and are now calling to say, I hear what's going on there. Tell me what opportunities there might be available for me. I'd like to move back. That's what this is about, and I think it's important that we recognize the LPSC's critical role. You all have helped make this happen by having a proactive vision, and it's turning the state into a powerhouse around economic development. And over the next 3 to 5 years, we can forever change the economic trajectory of this state, improve the outcomes for our communities and our citizens, and have a better quality of life for everyone. That's what this is about. Thank you.
Thank you.
Randy, are you still? Okay.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
no problem, thank you. No, thank you so much for that. I mean, I, as you know, I'm a big proponent of smart expansion and hardening the grid. This is even better because it's in my district, so thank you for coming to District 3. Just one or two more questions that I had, and then I'll pass it off to my colleagues. Can you tell me what the rate or bill impact would be under this proposal?
Yeah, Commissioner, this project, as you said, it is part of a multi-phased transmission, expansion, load serving expansion. But this phase, the capital cost to be, invested in it is roughly $500 million. It will, like any infrastructure, it does have an impact on rate base, and it goes into rates. There's the retail rate, there's a wholesale rate, so it's a complicated formula, and the number I'm about to give you does not take into account the increased denominator in terms of sales and kind of the spreading of that effect. So this is kind of what I would call a kind of a gross number in terms of it is what the rate base effect of it for a residential customer for ELL using 1,000 kilowatt hours a month. It would be roughly $1.50 per month.
Okay, and if I understand correctly, that the rate impact will not be as severe because some of the revenue collected from the new customers. Can you explain that, and do you have an estimate for the net effects on bills, so we can kind of understand that portion of it?
So I will explain it. I don't have an estimate, and I'll hopefully explain why. But as we make these investments, whether it's a generator or transmission, and they enable load growth, whether it's a Meta, Hyundai Steel, the other industrials who are looking at that area, when you make the investments to enable economic development, basically you increase the kilowatt hour, megawatt hour sales, and you have a broader customer base and more usage to spread the investment over. So if you're in a world where you had to make investments to refresh a generator or build transmission and you had declining sales or flat sales, sometimes that happens. That is not the good scenario because you're incurring costs but not increasing sales. Investments like these that enable additional sales and load growth have a dampening effect or a mitigating effect on the actual rate increase. I can't tell you what the mitigation will be without knowing exactly which and how many of these loads materialize in the future. So I think if we were to look back in 5 years, we can have that discussion and look who came or who's coming and do the math to say, all right, we spent X million dollars to enable this. What's the additional load it gave us, and how did that work out for us? I hope that helps.
That definitely helps. And I mean, I think the reason I was asking that question is because as we talk about these expansions and economic development, there's concern, at least some of my constituents have raised about how does this benefit me, right? And so that's why I wanted to say it seems like we don't want to get in a phase where residentials are subsidizing large industrial users, but the advancement in hardening the grid is also important. So I guess the last question I'll have is, can you speak to that concern of how this line and this investment actually benefits all of the customer class, not just a select few?
Yeah, 100%. So as we again increase the industrial sales associated with that corridor, yes, we are asking all of our customers across the state to pay for it, but it is an investment in Louisiana's future. Those additional sales, not only the direct sales, and so we talked about direct and indirect jobs. When development happens, it's not just the steel mill. It's all of the other industry that needs to support the steel mill. It's the car dealerships. It's the housing. So the follow-on effect will, just like the Meta deal in North Louisiana, this will revitalize. And I had the pleasure of seeing the Donaldsonville mayor
energetic gentleman and just so excited about the opportunity. Finally, he is seeing for his part of the parish what he has seen across the river for many years. And so just that economic impact, that stimulus for that part of the parish is, I think, what all customers get from it. They will see not only the mitigating effect of the increased industrial sales, but they will see the economic development, in terms of all the small businesses that will come up around this to support this industry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Randy, sit in the middle, in between these two guys, please.
Yes, Commissioner.
Well, you don't want to sit between them? Okay.
Mr. Hand likes his middle seat, so I'll leave him to it, but I'm glad to answer any
I
questions.
asked Randy to come up. Randy represents the industrial side of this. And this line is probably more for the support the industrial family, isn't it? Isn't that true?
Well, Commissioner, so as you know, we represent a group called the Louisiana Energy Users Group, which is a group of existing industrials in Louisiana. So our approach in this case was as a ratepayer being asked to pay a lot of costs for this new project. And so I think Mr. Hand would tell you that if anything, I was a bit of a thorn in this process, because I was very persistent in pursuing questions to make sure we understood, is this line really needed, or the project's really real and coming, and so that we're not putting cost on existing customers that are not unnecessary in terms of their need to serve the load. And so we did ask all of those questions, and we made sure that we covered those bases, and also made sure that as part of this settlement that we kept open the path that we can continue to ask those questions and make sure that the loads are real and the line's really needed. So we very much approached it as from the standpoint of existing customers being asked to pay for this, and is it the right thing to do? And at the end of the day, we believe that it was the right answer.
Well, you know, some of the people I represent up in LaSalle Parish, and then Commissioner Campbell on up to, all the way to Arkansas, it's a long ways down to where this line is being built. It's a lot of money. But there are also all the energy customers, the homeowners, are going to help pay for this along with industrial. Is that right? Is it not true that about half of the industrial load and electricity in Louisiana, about a half of the load is industrial and about half is homeowners? But in the ballpark, okay, so.
Yeah, that is correct, Commissioner.
So, in this commission approving this line, this money spent, it's more or less equally shared between industry and their homeowners, right? Isn't that true? Okay.
Yes, Commissioner. I can tell you too that there's, a lot of existing customers that are very large customers that are being asked to pay for this, and their rate impact is going to be very significant for having to pay for this. So they were very interested in making sure that this line is really needed, and we satisfied that. That process.
Those I call them rednecks up there in LaSalle Parish that we represent. A lot of them, those business people say no risk, no reward, and this is another investment, another risk. I think the reward is going to be tremendous, and for the industry and for the homeowners, and for the jobs, some of my friends' kids and grandkids up there in LaSalle Parish, they may move down to that area like some of us did, to get employment. But so I just wanted some of my friends in LaSalle Parish to understand the total impact of this, and I think it's good. And but again, energy, no gloating. Okay, all right. Anybody else?
May I add something real quick?
Okay.
I do want to say thank you to Mr. Young. We have the benefit of having a regulated system that provides certainty and stability, and that is one of the reasons why Louisiana has seen 55% of the energy investment along the Gulf Coast. The next up is 45% in Texas. The rest of the coast is rounding error. And one of the reasons why a state that is 6 times larger in population than Louisiana in population, and we're winning, is because of the work that this commission does in ensuring we have stable, certain rates, a commission that is fair and reasonable, and that's what's driving investment to this state. In the process that Mr. Young participated in, assuring and doing due diligence on these investments we make. That is part of a regulated process that provides a fair and equitable outcome for everyone, and that's why we're winning in Louisiana.
Are you saying, Mr. May, that 3 votes can help make this happen in Louisiana? Is that true?
I'm saying that what Louisiana has is an advantage, and it's a key reason why we're winning.
Speaking of votes.
I'm
I
correct,
think,
5 votes.
Commissioner, I would
okay.
say 5 votes is gonna make this win.
Okay, amen, amen.
Speaking of votes, move to vote.
Okay, all right.
We have
so
a motion by
yeah,
Commissioner
so
Skrmetta and a second by you, Chair.
Commissioner Lewis, second?
No, you seconded it.
I'll second, all right. Is there any,
changed my mind.
Oh, wait.
okay, is there any other discussion, any objection to this? Hearing none, number 10's in the books.
Thank you.
Exhibit 11 is deferred, so we are moving to exhibit number 12, which is docket number U37208. This is Panola Harris Electric Cooperative's request for modifications to its base rates and standard terms and conditions. It's a discussion and possible vote on an uncontested stipulated settlement. On May 15th of 2024, Panola filed its request, and which was published in the Commission's official bulletin with no interventions received. Following discovery on Panola's application and accompanying testimony, staff filed its recommendation on November 11th of 2024. Subsequently, Panola and staff reached an agreement and executed an uncontested stipulated settlement, which was filed into the record on January 8th of 2025. The major terms of the settlement are as follows. Panola Harrison is authorized to implement an increase in rates to achieve an additional approximately $4.2 million in base revenues as compared to the 2023 test year. Panola is authorized to adjust all rate class fixed billing components as proposed in the request, except for the residential customer charge, which is lowered from $15 to $12.50 per meter per month. And of the total increase, an amount of $1 million annually will be assigned to deferred liability account earmarked for capital expenditures, which proceeds to be utilized for specific projects requested in Panola's application. As there are no unresolved issues, staff recommends that the Commission approve the uncontested stipulation filed into the record on January 8th of 2025.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Campbell?
Panola Harris is a cooperative.
Commissioner, can you use your
Pull
mic?
your mic down.
Panola Harris is a cooperative in East Texas, and it serves a lot of northwest Louisiana. They do a fine job, so I recommend that we accept staff recommendation. I don't ever have any problems out of them. Call them and answer.
So that's a
I'm sorry.
motion by Commissioner Campbell to accept the uncontested stipulated
And
settlement.
I would second that. So there's a motion by Commissioner Campbell, second by Chair. Is there any discussion or opposition? Hearing none, 12 is passed.
Thank you.
Exhibit number 13 is docket number U37209. This is South Coast Gas Company's request for an interim operating revenue rider. It's a discussion and possible vote on a motion for an amendment of that rider for the South Coast Gas Company. On May 14th of 2024, South Coast filed a request for an interim operating revenue rider, which was ultimately approved by the Commission in order number U37209. On February 20th of this year, South Coast filed a motion for amendment of that recovery rider. The motion was published in the Commission's official bulletin with no interventions. Since the issuance of the Commission order, South Coast lender Capital One Bank has demanded that South Coast liquidate the short-term debt in full on or before November 15th of this year and make principal payments in the amount of approximately $42,600 per month. South Coast has been unable to secure alternative financing arrangements. Therefore, to avoid default, South Coast has sought an additional $952,000 through this rider authorized by the Commission. Staff does not oppose South Coast's request to amend the interim cost recovery rider in Commission Order Number U37209. Therefore, staff recommends that the Commission accept that motion for amendment of the interim cost recovery rider for South Coast Gas Company that was filed into the record on February 20th of 2025.
Can I ask her a question?
And I'd make a motion that we accept it and can I get a second?
I'll second.
A second by Commissioner Lewis. Now we've got a discussion.
Catherine, could you explain to me and the Commission what would be the impact should we not take this action and follow the staff's recommendation in this matter?
Commissioner, I'm going to either ask our staff attorney or auditor to answer that, or I don't, if they're not sure of the impact, I think that they do have a representative of South Coast here. They probably could answer the question better.
This issue is in my district, so I'm asking it on behalf of the constituents
Absolutely.
who possibly could stand to lose their gas service, see much higher rates as a result of a bank default over time. And so I'd just like someone to testify to that effect, to the extent that we have someone here to be able to do that.
I believe the best would be Mr. Young if he, did he
Well,
step
and
out?
our staff as well, and look, while
Either.
Randy's coming up, I can say, we have meetings on a regular basis as well with Department of Energy and Natural Resources, and this is becoming an issue. I mean, more money's gotta be invested in these systems to keep them running, and there is and Randy can probably agree with this, there is that narrow delta, I guess, of rates, because if you go too high on gas, people will just convert to something else, whether it be propane or electric. So, we have that in mind when we're working with these gas companies, but yes, this investment has to be made to the systems.
Brandon, Secretary Fry, I think your perspective is part of what I'm looking for. And so, as a historic matter, what has been the transition from some of these smaller companies? How have they transitioned? How have they been able to invest? Or from a business decision standpoint, what has happened to a lot of the industry relative to the capital costs that we're looking at, from whether it's inflation or just older infrastructure? What have you seen over the time that you've been here over the last 20 years?
Yeah, 25 now, geez, but no, it's obviously more expensive to do anything. I mean, we saw this, we had a big settlement last year with Atmos, who is a big company who has the financial wherewithal, and we saw the cost there for pipe replacement. It's not gonna get any cheaper. And it's even more of an issue for these smaller companies like Randy represents to have access to that capital. So they need us working with them to ensure their companies continue to operate. But we are seeing it, the smaller ones, I mean, they're always at risk of going out, and then the people lose, to your point, they lose their supply totally. And these systems are aging, so there is substantial work needs to be done. This is a pretty good, it's not a pretty good, it's a really well-run company. I handled rate cases with them probably, Randy, what was that, about 20 years ago, we might have worked on our first rate case together with this company. It's a very well-run company. They use a lot of the money out of their pockets for years, if I remember right, a very close-knit family company that they're only coming to us when they absolutely need something.
Thank you. Mr. Young, do you want to add to that?
So, Commissioner, in terms of investment in the system, I guess a couple of things come to mind. One is that there is a Department of Natural Resources requirement that the company go in and do some testing on its system and so forth, and the staff is monitoring those efforts and where the company stands on those efforts as part of the rate stabilization plan. And we have to submit an updated report on that every year. And so as the company goes through that process, as they see the needs for capital investment and we see those dollars coming down the road, then they will be coming to you, I would suspect, to address those issues as they arise, but they're not here yet in terms of the overall upgrade of the system and what those needs may be. On the generator topic, as we've discussed with you, so that's been something new that's developed in terms of a lot of people installing home generators, and now South Coast is up to about 1/3 of their customers that they know of that have generators, and so that creates a new demand on the system. And it's not something they can just figure out every day because they don't really understand what the impacts are until there's an electricity outage and all these generators turn on, and then there's a sudden draw on the system. And so back during Hurricane Ida, the system performed very well, no issues. During Hurricane Francine, there was a lot more generators and a lot more issues that came up and complaints, and so have hired an engineer to work on that to identify what are the needs, what are the costs, and they've done some projects and have more on the way. And as they see the need for financial assistance to work through those issues, I'm sure they'll be coming to the commission.
I don't want to see a local family-run company go into default, and we think that would have catastrophic business consequences. Would you agree?
Yes, Commissioner, and that's, the topic that's on the agenda today is about that specifically, and I'm glad to talk through that topic if you'd like.
Well, that's what I'm asking about.
Yeah, okay. All right, so on that topic in particular, let me give you the short answer on this, or the short point about what this request is for, is that one of the company's creditors that holds a line of credit has requested that they liquidate that line of credit by November. And so to do that, it's going to take about $950,000. And so what they're asking for is an amendment to the interim rider to raise that $950,000 over 6 months. And so it would be an adder to the bills for 6 months, and then it would terminate and go away. But let me give you the bigger kind of story on this, and I'll try to be brief. So historically, South Coast has been a very low-cost, low-rate company, and they're very proud of that. But what's happened in more recent years is they've had some cash flow challenges. And why and where did that start? A big part of it has been just more moderate weather, less cold days, so they're selling less gas. But some information I have from the company is that they also got hit after Hurricane Ida with a reduced number of customers. They lost about 850 customers after Hurricane Ida, including sales from a hospital that shut down that was a significant commercial customer. Over time, they've achieved about half of those customers back. Now they're down about 400 compared to where they were from Ida. But those reduced sales are having an impact. And so when you look at just their sales, they were down 34% after Hurricane Ida. And so there's a huge drop in sales. The next year it bounced back. It rebounded by about 7%, but they're still down. And so that's what's caused the cash flow problems that they've had. And their line of credit went from running about $500,000 per year just a few years ago to suddenly up to $1 million, and then it got up over $2 million. And so they needed a path to work through that and figure out how do we get through this line of credit debt and pay that down. And the rate stabilization plan does not provide that path because it just handles scheduled loans that are amortized over time. It doesn't address beyond the interest, how do you pay down the line of credit? So we came to the commission this past October, and we worked with the staff on a plan to approach it in an increment. We said, okay, let's do an interim rider that will be $2.50 a month over 12 months that will pay down a third of that short-term debt. And then let them try to refinance the rest of it over time. But what happened was they went to this bank, and this bank said, no, we want 90% of that money, plus we want you to pay us off in full by November. And so now they're caught in that squeeze and saying, okay, we need to work through this, otherwise go into default. And so that's why we had to come back to the commissioner and say, can we have this additional amendment on the rider for 6 months to raise the money to pay off that creditor? And that's the ask on the table.
No, and I appreciate that explanation. I think that's very thorough and understandable. And, once the company gets its balance sheet back in order, I think we all need to make an effort to find a new bank and get one that, is going to really work with Louisiana companies facing the issues that we're seeing more often than not relative to the issues that they've been facing with the cash flow and the storms and so on and so forth. So I appreciate your testimony. That's all the questions I have.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yeah, there's nothing like a banker calling a business and say, I'm gonna call in your loan. That's terrible news. And I think this is a cycle caused by the weather. And from what I've seen, I think you're gonna work out of it. And I agree with Commissioner Cousson. So maybe we'll help you call the next banker and twist their arm, get a better banker to help you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate that.
Any other comments?
Just a few while I have Randy. Randy, thank you for that history. Can you, do you know if South Coast Gas will start pursuing other financial options regardless of this vote?
Yes, Commissioner, so they have worked with a new banker and they have that in process, but what happens is a lot of their collateral has been tied up with the bank that wants the liquidation. So once we can get through that, I think it will assist that process tremendously. And I do want to add one more thing, Commissioner, that South Coast and Mr. Fry mentioned that they were a very conservative run company and they've always tried to do the right thing. This past year, on their own, realizing that they were in a difficult place and wanting to not have this one-sided, they went to their board, or their board decided several very significant steps in that they declared no stock dividends in 2024. They reduced their board of director fees in half for the year.
How much are they making?
They're reduced it from $1,000 a month to $500 a month. And no cost of living increases for salaried employees in 2024. They left slight 3% increase for the hourly workers, and no 401k contributions for 2024. So they've tightened the belt on their side as well.
Thank you. And after this rider expires in November, correct? That's the timeline. Do you believe South Coast will be financially stable, or do you think we will see any more emergency requests?
I'm very hopeful, Commissioner, that this will get them through this difficult challenge that they're in, and that they'll be back on track by the end of the year. And I'm very optimistic about that.
Great. So I'm sure this is a 6-month increase that we will see about maybe just shy of just over 8.50 cents, right? About 8.57. Is that?
Yes, Commissioner, and the months are April through September, so it's 6 months.
And what measures will South Coast do to inform their customers about this?
So there is something that we coordinate with the commission staff, that we send out a notice card to the customers to let them know, so they're fully apprised.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all.
Are the board members appointed, or are they stockholders?
That I'm not sure. I have some folks here from South Coast, if you would like to ask them that question. I do not know.
No, I don't think you need to call them up. Let me ask one final question.
Yes, sir.
This area is subject to storms, hurricanes. Live in beautiful South Louisiana, so a lot of folks have generators, and there was a demand on the line from the storm, and some people's generator wouldn't run. You know, in the electricity business, we have a demand charge for those who sometimes have a peak demand like this, but we don't have that on gas, on customers with gas. Do you think it's fair to have a demand charge on these peak demands on gas? For those who need gas in these emergencies, extra gas, should they help pay for the expansion of the gas line so we could supply the demand? What's your opinion on that?
So you have raised that question, Commissioner, and I have it on the short list to take a look at. And the question, as I understood it from you, is that if the folks with generators are increasing the need for infrastructure, then should there be some charge on the bills for those folks that have the generators, and to account for that, and we're going to take a close look at that.
Well, I have a gas generator at my home. I'd love to pay a little extra to make sure I got the gas, keep the lights on. And I just can't see all my friends around Thibodeau that I know they would love to kick in a couple extra bucks to make sure we got the gas line. So, well, let's send a message out there, maybe Atmos and CenterPoint and all the others would consider the same to help keep building this infrastructure in Louisiana, just like the transmission lines for electricity. Well, thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, you did have a directive on that for us to look into it, and we are looking into that issue of the increased impact on these local distribution companies of standby generators, particularly when...
I'm out of here.
Hopefully that's a drill, or they're working on it, but about the impact on the systems, and particularly when there's no permits actually issued to it. The companies like South Coast has no clue what's on there if there's no permit being submitted. So we're trying to figure out a mechanism by which we can identify that.
That was the head guy, Secretary Fry. He said, "Don't worry about that."
Well, they usually tell us something. We'll keep y'all posted. But if we do have to evacuate, we go straight across the street.
What, comedians are starving to death, Okay, so where are we at? Do we have
We have a motion by you and a second by Commissioner Lewis.
All right. Is there any objection?
Hey, guys, we're still working.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you. Is there any objection to this? So number 13's passed. Okay.
So moving to Exhibit 14, while hopefully Brandon goes to see if we need to leave. Docket number U37341 is Point Coupee Electric Membership Corporation's application for an increase of base rates, including requests for interim rate relief request for associated tariff modifications, and request to establish a formula rate plan and emergency reserve fund. It's a discussion and possible vote on an uncontested stipulated settlement. On July 30th of 2024, Point Coupee filed its application, which was published in the Commission's official bulletin, and no interventions were received. Following discovery on the application, are we all good?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Following discovery on the application, staff filed its report on January 9th of 2025, and on January 27th of 2025, Point Coupee, filed correspondence acknowledging receipt of staff's report and accepting it without objection. Point Coupee and staff subsequently entered into an uncontested stipulated settlement, which was filed into the record on February 18th of 2025. The major terms of the settlement are as follows. Point Coupee is authorized to implement an increase in rates to achieve an additional $3.6 million in base revenues as compared to the 23 test year. Point Coupee is authorized to reestablish a formula rate plan with a 1.75 to 1.95 MDSC band with a reset to the midpoint with a secondary revenue check of an O tier of 1.25. And Point Coupee is authorized to create an emergency reserve fund rider to collect an additional $1.1 million over 3 years. Staff recommends that the Commission approve the uncontested stipulated settlement filed into the record on February 18th of 2025.
I'll make a motion.
Commissioner Campbell makes a motion.
I'll second.
Accepted, and seconded Commissioner Jean-Paul Cusson. Is there any discussion, objection? Hearing none, it's in the books.
These people seem to be doing a good job. Nice folks, small co-op, but they're doing a good job. They take care of people over there, and I didn't mean to jump the gun on you, but anyway.
Well, sometimes we jump into each other's area a little bit. We don't, no offense. Do we recognize the new leader at?
We haven't, but we absolutely can. It's perfect timing.
We could do it again. We did it already?
No, we have not, but I think it's perfect timing.
All right, Jennifer, you want to bring him up and introduce?
Man, excuse us. I wasn't sure. If we
No,
did.
this would actually be the first opportunity because last month was Myron's last month, so.
Well, good. I've got a star on my crown today, man. All right.
Thank you, Commissioners. Jennifer Vosberg on behalf of Point Coupee Electric, and it's my pleasure to introduce our new general manager, Mr. Craig Magruder, who has been with the co-op for, I don't know if I'm allowed to say how many exact years, but a long time.
200 years.
Craig, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. Craig Magruder, Point Coupee Electric General Manager, newly appointed. As Jennifer said, I've been there for a little over 39 years.
Wow.
And have served in different capacities. My last capacity was operations manager for the last 20-something years.
Well.
And appreciated working with Myron Lambert, our past general manager, and look forward to working with y'all in the future.
Well, you're gonna fill some big shoes. I don't know if
Well, I hope my foot doesn't grow that big.
If he's here, I'd have him come up and see what kind of shoe he had.
We already told him goodbye, so we're gonna welcome you today. But Mr. Magruder, Mr. Chairman, do you mind?
Go ahead.
The company is very well liked across the region, across the state, as we just recognized, and I want to recognize it. It's in the middle of my district, and I've heard nothing but positive comments. The company, with you involved, obviously 39 years, has been very forward-thinking, economic-based, but takes care of its people and its membership. Can you comment to what you see in the future? You gonna stay on that same path, I assume?
Exactly. I'm a people's person. I love to work with the customers of, Point Coupee Electric and making sure they have good, safe, reliable, and affordable electricity. And so I think with our new contract beginning April 1, it's going to prove to our membership that we are working to, make big strides in trying to reduce rates and work hard to make sure we ensure reliability, especially with our new work plan being approved. And we're waiting on some loan documents for that, in the future. So as soon as we get that, we'll be off and running, so.
Right.
Outstanding. Well, welcome. Welcome to the
Thank you.
commission, and we look
Thank
forward to
y'all.
seeing you back here again for all positive things.
Mr. Chairman, and while you have it, I want to also welcome you and thank you. It's great to join you all. And was it last week? New Roads for the annual meeting. Commissioner Cusson, I did not tell Representative Lacombe to text you. That wasn't me. He did it on his own right. But I'm looking over this. It's great to see the benefits of the new power supply contract that will go into effect April 1st and the savings. And I'm looking forward to kind of seeing how long you think we can last on that. And also, while I have you, credit you all for the aggressive work that you've done going after federal funds. I'm hopeful. That the new era dollars still come through and we can continue to make the necessary improvements. Unlike Commissioner Kusan, I only have a slither of your customer base, but as I echo his sentiments, to my office knowledge, I don't think I've ever had anyone call me about Point Coupee Electric, so that's kudos to the work that you do.
Thank you. And Commissioner, an update on New Era. We saw a posting last night that they are actually going to release the New Era funding with some additional modifications. So we'll stay tuned, but it looks like there's progress on that side.
Good to hear that. I'm looking forward to that group chat about that.
And I'll be in the district for a crawfish boil competition, April 27th over in New Roads. So hopefully you're there.
Yeah, we will
Congratulations again, and 15 is passed, all right?
Thank you, Commissioners.
So in moving,
And before we go there, look, we are getting conflicting info as whether this is a test or real, so just be aware we may have to evacuate at some time. Colby, we have an update? Okay, so the sheriff is telling us this is a test, but the system that's supposed to tell us it's a test is broken, so. Right on cue. That's fast. That's usually the way they tell us the test is over. Thank you. I'd like to say I have that much control to get the answers on cue, but I think that's just irony.
16?
15.
Huh?
15.
15?
Yes, sir.
Oh.
So exhibit number 15 is docket number U37345. This is CenterPoint Energy Resources, CenterPoint Energy Intex. It's a request for renewal of a rate stabilization plan rider for an additional 3-year term. It's a discussion and possible vote pursuant to Rule 57 on staff's report and recommendation. So this will need 2 votes. On August 1st of 2024, CenterPoint Energy Intex filed an application with the Commission for renewal of its rate stabilization plan rider for an additional 3 years. Notice of Intex application was published in the Commission's official bulletin and no interventions were received. Intex's RSP is initially authorized by order number U26720 and has been renewed over the years, with the last renewal extending through the company's test year ending June 30th of 2025. Intex's current RSP allows the company to earn a midpoint ROE of 9.95 and requires a resetting of rates in the event that the test period earnings fall outside the prescribed bandwidth. After thoroughly reviewing the company's application in response to data requests, staff filed its recommendation on January 31st of 2025, finding that Intex's request to renew its RSP for an additional 3-year term is in the public interest, subject to certain recommendations. On February 27th, Intex filed its correspondence into the record indicating that it had no opposition. As there are no unresolved issues, staff recommends that the Commission, 1, exercise its original and primary jurisdiction under Rule 57, and 2, approve the staff report and recommendation filed into the record on January 31st of 2025.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to exercise our original primary jurisdiction under Rule 57 to consider the staff report and recommendation.
I'll second. Moved to 57 by Commissioner Kusan, seconded by Mr. Lewis. And I move that we accept it.
I'll second.
Exhibit number 15, seconded by Commissioner Kusan. Is there any discussion or objection? Hearing none, 15 to the books.
Exhibit number 16 is docket number U37346. This is CenterPoint's other company, CenterPoint Energy Arkla. Also, its request to renew its rate stabilization plan rider for an additional 3 years. And it's the same discussion and possible vote pursuant to Rule 57 on staff's report and recommendation. On August 1st of 2024, CenterPoint Arkla filed its application with the Commission for approval of its rate stabilization plan for a 3-year term. Notice of the application was published in the Commission's official bulletin, but no interventions were received. Arkla's RSP was initially authorized by order number U27676 and has been renewed over the years, with the last renewal extending the company's test year ending June 30th of 2025. The current RSP allows the company to earn a midpoint ROE of 9.95 and requires a resetting of rates in the event that the test period falls outside the prescribed bandwidth. After reviewing the company's application, staff filed its recommendation on January 31st, 2025, finding that Arkla's request to renew its RSP for an additional 3 years is in the public interest, subject to certain recommendations. On February 27th of 25, ARCLA filed correspondence indicating no opposition. As there are no unresolved issues, staff recommends that the commission exercise its original and primary jurisdiction under Rule 57 and then approve the staff report and recommendation filed into the record on January 31st, 2025.
Chairman, if it's seven.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Lewis. Chair moves that we accept the staff recommendation on 16.
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Cusson. Is there any objection or discussion? Hearing none, is passed.
Exhibit number 17 is docket number U37385. This is CenterPoint Energy ARCLA's rate stabilization plan earnings and equity report for the 12 months ending June 30th of 2024. It's a discussion and possible vote on joint report and draft order. ARCLA filed its monitoring report on September 30th of 2024 and reported an ROE of 5.56%, which is below the allowed return. Additionally, ARCLA requested approval of its change in estimated useful lives of corporate assets depreciation study. After staff reviewed the RSP filing, supporting documentation, and responses to data requests, staff filed its report on January 27th of 25, recommending several adjustments. Due to these adjustments, ARCLA's reported ROE increased from 5.56 to 5.77%, which is still below the established bandwidth and justifies a rate increase to the midpoint. As a result of the deficient earnings, staff recommended that ARCLA be allowed to increase its rates to generate an increase in revenue of approximately $6.4 million, inclusive of TCJA reductions and adjusted for taxes. On March 12th, ARCLA filed correspondence into the record indicating no opposition to staff's recommendations, subject to a technical amendment to staff recommendation number 5. And as there are no unresolved issues, ARCLA and staff submitted a joint report and draft order filed into the record on March 13th, requesting that the commission issue an order accepting the joint report. Staff recommends that the commission accept that joint report and issue the draft order that was filed into the record on March 13th of 2025.
Commissioner Lewis has some questions about that.
Yes, can I have a representative from CenterPoint as well as Delta Utilities, if they're in the room, to the table? And Mr. Chair, if it's all right, I'm going to ask questions on Exhibit 18 as well because they're very similar, and since these are the two.
That's fine with me.
Okay, thank you.
Jim DeSherry on behalf of CenterPoint Energy. Ryan King, behalf of Delta Utilities.
Thank you, Jim. Just a few questions. I'm going to start with ARCLA, and then I'll go to Intex. But since they're similar questions, I'm just going to take them up so we don't have to do it in Exhibit 18 as well. Can you tell me what were the categories of main spending of the changes?
Sure. The biggest driver is a lot of infrastructure improvement and resiliency improvement there. Pipe replacement programs, from aging pipe, from materials of pipe that we found problematic in the past. So going through that with our risk program and identifying pipe that's in need of replacement. That's the primary driver. Other drivers include public improvement, which, for example, Jimmy Davis Bridge in North Louisiana is under construction. That required us to move pipe out of public right-of-way. So there was buckets of funds there that were used, and other infrastructure improvements throughout Louisiana we've seen that requires us to move.
Oh, great, thank you. And if I'm correct, the residential impact is for both is around $3 and some change.
That's correct. That's correct.
For each. Can you explain how this will work within the acquisition of Delta Utilities, and what's that timeline, and how does this work together?
Yeah, absolutely. So the closing with Delta occurs April 1st,
Yep.
and these will continue on with Delta. There's a term we've said a lot, is Delta will step in the shoes of CenterPoint, so it'll be a seamless transition into that company.
Great, and my understanding is CenterPoint will still be working with Delta Utilities for some time. Is that correct?
That is correct. Under a transition service agreement, CenterPoint will still be involved in certain areas. As far as the personnel in Louisiana, those employees will travel to Delta. So the same individuals that work on the ground with CenterPoint will continue to work with Delta.
Great. So Delta and CenterPoint are going to be talking through signal channels, right?
Absolutely.
Texting each other. All right. Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So Jim, you're staying on the payroll?
That's correct.
Okay. Let me ask you a hypothetical. Well, you're changing these lines out. Are you changing the same size line with different material?
Not always. Well, on the material types, we're using the latest material
Yeah.
types. It's a lot of plastic pipe, changing it over from the iron pipe. As far as the size, we are using it in certain instances larger diameter
Okay,
to
that's what I
increase
wanted to know.
pressure improvement.
So you're able to use that money at your discretion on if you need a larger line for growth in the.
Yeah, we'll do engineering studies to determine whether there's a need for pressure improvement in certain areas. With the topic of generators came up. Do we see low pressure during extreme weather events? And we account for that when we do our engineering studies.
That's kind of written into your agreement for the line expansions. Okay, good. Well, we sure want you to look ahead to more gas, more growth in Louisiana, just like the electricity business. Gas industry should follow, you know. All right, thank you.
I got a question.
Okay, Commissioner Campbell.
What do you, what's y'all prediction, or what do y'all think about the price of natural gas? I know you don't know it. It's awfully low, but how long is it gonna be low? There's a lot of need for it now. There's new wells being drilled everywhere in North Louisiana, wide open again. What about the price of natural gas? I guess it's attractive enough to drill wells, but
I
how
guess
long
I'll-
can it stay down?
If I knew where the price of natural gas would be, I'd probably be in a different business making a lot
Yeah.
more money. You know, we are a purchaser of gas. We don't trade gas. With that said,
How much is it today?
Henry Hub price, I could not tell you, Commissioner. Somebody in this room may be able to. I would say maybe perhaps in the low threes. But with that said, I think we're optimistic about the future of natural gas pricing staying low. And we're fortunate in Louisiana to be a very gas-rich state. We're finding efficiencies in the exploration and production process to keep those prices low. Not us, but others. And we are a beneficiary of that as we purchase low-price gas and pass those prices to the customer.
Henry Hub's $3.89 right now.
That's cheap. I mean, it's
It
good.
is.
It's good for people, but it's cheap.
Absolutely.
And you know, Foster, I've been doing some historical digging on old transcripts. I'm not going to say why I'm doing that, but it might have something to do with you and Commissioner Scametta being termed out. But we had a discussion, and you remember this one back in '03, where somebody came to the table and gas was about $6, and he said it might be $9 this fall, and he said it might also be $3. And I think you had a little problem with that line equipment. I don't think we're going to see those swings now, but I just want everybody to remember what kind of volatility we saw back in the early 2000s.
Well, Mr. Jim, so your company likes that old saying, drill, baby, drill, do they? Yeah.
Our customers certainly benefit from low gas prices, so
Okay.
we're always looking for those lower numbers.
All right. Okay, anything else? We have a motion yet?
No, sir.
Okay, I'll make a motion, we accept this. And I get a second from somebody?
Yeah, go ahead.
We got 2 seconds, so we'll take 2 songs, okay? So motion is second, any objection or, well, thank you two guys for coming up, and it's passed, all right? Accepted.
So exhibit number 18 is docket number U37386. This is CenterPoint's other company at CenterPoint Energy Intex for their rate stabilization plan earnings and equity report for the 12 months ending June 30th of 2024. It's a discussion and possible vote on a joint report and draft order. On September 30th of 2024, Intex filed its monitoring report, which reported an ROE of 5.96%, which is below the allowed return of 9.95. Additionally, Intex is requesting approval of its change in estimated useful lives of corporate assets depreciation study. After staff's review of Intex's 2024 filing, supporting documentation, and responses to data requests, staff filed its report on January 27th of 2025, recommending several adjustments. Due to those adjustments, Intex reported ROE increased from 5.56% to 6.14%, which is still below the established bandwidth and justifies a rate increase. Staff recommended that Intex be allowed to increase its rates to generate an increase in revenue of approximately $5.58 million, inclusive of TCJA reductions. On March 12th of 2025, Intex filed correspondence into the record indicating that it had no objections to staff's recommendations, subject to a technical amendment to staff recommendation 5. Therefore, as there were no unresolved issues, a joint report and draft order was filed into the record on March 13th of 2025. Staff recommends that the Commission accept that joint report and issue the draft order filed into the record on March 13th of 2025.
Move to accept staff's recommendation.
Motion to accept staff recommendation by Commissioner Lewis, I would second that, Chair. Any discussion or objection? I see Paul Briscoe, Phelps Dunbar. You got any comments on this, Paul? Anything to add? He's just waving his hand.
Wait, Paul, if you're gonna talk, you gotta come up
No,
here.
I think he waved.
Okay.
Okay.
That's an okay wave. I've been to Morgan City. I've seen his wave before. Okay. All right, that's 18's in the books.
Sorry. Exhibit number 19 is docket number U37407. It's SWEPCO's application for approval of a natural gas capacity purchase agreement. It's a discussion and possible vote on an uncontested stipulated settlement. On October 25th of 2024, SWEPCO filed an application seeking commission approval of a 5-year capacity purchase agreement with Tenaska Gateway Partners. The agreement was intended to provide a portion of SWEPCO's needs from 2025 to 2029 as identified in its most recent IRP. SWEPCO seeks a finding that its selection of the CPA meets the requirements of applicable commission orders, and the application was published in the commission's official bulletin with no interventions received. After discovery and filing of testimony, the parties began settlement negotiations on February 12th of 2025, and the parties filed an uncontested stipulated settlement and a Rule 6 joint motion. A stipulation hearing was held in front of the ALJ. The major terms of the stipulation settlement are as follows. Staff and SWEPCO agree that SWEPCO's application is in the public interest and consistent with Commission general orders, that the agreement will provide SWEPCO customers with natural gas capacity from a term of June 1st of 2025 through May 31st of 2030. SWEPCO and staff agree that the company's application complies with the MBM order and is reasonable and prudent cost option to meet SWEPCO's resource adequacy needs. As there are no unresolved issues, staff recommends that the Commission approve the uncontested stipulated settlement filed into the record on February 12th of 2025.
Okay, anybody got a motion for this one? I'll make a motion. We accept staff recommendation.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Campbell. Any discussion or objection? Hearing none, it's passed. 20.
20 is pulled, so we're moving to 21.
Which one are we on now?
21.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Exhibit 21 is docket number U37479. This is CLECO's application for authorization of Phase 1 of its comprehensive hardening plan and related recovery. It's a discussion and possible vote to retain an outside consultant. Staff issued an RFP seeking that consultant to assist in the company's request for approval, and we received one qualifying bid. That bid was from United Professionals Company of $130,000 in fees and $4,000 in expenses for a total budget not to exceed of $134,000. Staff makes no recommendation as the sole bidder is qualified.
Make a motion that we accept UPC.
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Lewis. Is any discussion? I want to add a comment here that
Yes, sir.
we've got UPC hired to watch the money, and we've kind of all decided that we don't need somebody to watch and put in the polls, so we're gonna save that money on that jurisdiction. So thank everybody for their coordination and in the same way. So hearing no objection, it's passed.
Exhibit number 22 is docket number U37502. This is SWEPCO's application for extension of its formula rate plan, service quality improvement program, and request for interim increase in vegetation management. It's a discussion and possible vote to retain United Professionals Company. At the August 24 B&E, UPC was retained to assist staff in the investigative audit of SWEPCO's service quality and vegetation management practices, including historical spending. SWEPCO filed the instant docket on February 10th of 2025, which included a request to continue its service quality improvement plan and increase its vegetation management budget. As UPC is currently assisting staff with the review of SWEPCO's vegetation management plan, including the company's request to increase that annual spending amount, it was staff's opinion that no formal RFP was required. Based on staff solicitation, UPC provided a proposal of $92,000 in fees and $5,000 in expenses for the review of SWEPCO's request for a continued FRP and SWIP renewal, and also provided a proposed budget of $108,000 for the 3 annual reviews of SWEPCO's FRP, or $36,000 per annual review should it be approved by the Commission. Staff recommends that the Commission retain UPC for a budget of $197,000 in fees and $8,000 in expenses for a total budget not to exceed of $205,000.
Do we know when this will be completed? Is there a timeline on it?
For the review of the formula rate plan?
So we can make a decision on this.
I'll make a motion.
Oh, wait. Is there any timeline on this yet?
Arvin, you want to jump in on that one?
Arvin Vishwanathan on behalf of Commission staff. Commissioner, we haven't set a procedural schedule in this docket yet. We do plan to set one very soon as this hire is complete. I can't get you an exact date today, but hopefully the next week or two, I can follow up with you in your office and kind of give you what we anticipate a commission vote or what the date would be.
Yeah, we got spring storms hitting now, and we're gonna have hurricane season after that, which I know hurricanes don't ever get up into Mr. Campbell's area, but nevertheless, we might get us another surprise. Okay, is there a motion to accept this?
There was by Commissioner
Okay, a
Campbell.
motion by Commissioner Campbell, I'll second that. Is there any discussion, objection? Hearing none, it's passed.
Exhibit 23 and 24 are deferred, so we will be moving to Exhibit 25, which is our reports, resolutions, and ratifications. We do have one discussion and possible vote to ratify interventions of the commission and RTO-related or other FERC-related proceedings this month. And due to the short deadlines allowed for these interventions, if advance commission approval is not possible, the executive secretary, on the recommendation of UPC or Stone Pigment or on his own determination, may authorize the initial interventions, comments, or protests subject to ratification. Interventions were filed on the commission's behalf in the following proceedings: FERC docket ER 25-1147 and DC Circuit docket numbers 25-1045 and 25-1066. Staff recommends that the commission ratify these actions.
Move to ratify.
Move to ratify by
I'll second.
Commissioner Lewis, second by Commissioner Campbell. Any objection? Hearing none, it's ratified.
And that is the last agenda item, so we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
We'll move to adjourn by Commissioner Couchon, second by Chairman. We're through.
Before last time.